My mom, she was already using drugs as a teenager, and my parents split up shortly after I was born, and my dad wasn't in the picture because I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and they were taken away when I was 6 years old. I negotiated my, being with my kids. I chose drugs and sex and men over them and the chaos of what comes with the lifestyle, and I neglected them. I just grew up with a lot of uncertainty and confusion, and I never really felt safe very often. One abusive relationship after another. Violence was just part of my life and just became acceptable. And drugs, the chaos, living on the streets. Through foster care and growing up, I never really got to learn etiquette, social graces. But when I got to the academy, it was like, oh, I don't need to protect anybody. I don't need to protect myself. I'm safe. And I was like, who am I? Who do I want to be? And I had the opportunity there in the safety to make mistakes and learn from them. This is the longest I've ever been around the same people, in the same place or anything, and it's beautiful.
Welcome to Utah Stories. So today on the program, we have a very special guest. Tiffany Blair is one of the success stories from the Other Side Academy, and she's now intimately involved in launching the Other Side Village. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So if you don't mind, there's a lot to say that's great about what you're doing now, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to hear about where you came from. Like, what was your upbringing and background like? How did you find yourself getting in trouble as a kid?
Absolutely. So I was raised unconventionally. My mom, she wasn't really taught how to be a decent mom or anything like that, and she was already using drugs as a teenager. And my parents split up shortly after I was born, and my dad wasn't in the picture. And we were from place to place to place. And then we wound up just living on the river and under viaducts when I was 11 years old. And before that, I just kind of roamed the streets because I ran away from home.
Before 11 years old,
Absolutely.
You were roaming the streets?
So my homelessness started probably around 9.
Wow.
But we were always going from couch to couch and place to place, and it was always a different man. I just grew up with a lot of uncertainty and confusion, and I never really felt safe very often. Mm-hmm. And so we wound up under viaduct on 3rd West and 4th West and North Temple. And then that's where I first used drugs. And so, and then we caught a freight train about a month later, wound up down in Yuma, Arizona, got kicked off the train there. And we lived on the river down there for about 3 years. And it was an adventure for quite some time, but I wanted to go to school so bad. And before that, I'd put myself into try to go to schools, and I just was too young. And so I didn't want to get taken away from my mom because I absolutely adored her. I just loved her to death, and I was very protective over her. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, I became my mom. I negotiated my, being with my kids. I chose drugs and sex and men over them and the chaos of what comes with the lifestyle. And I neglected them, and I didn't raise them. I have 2 separate sets of kids, and I didn't raise either one of them. And so I definitely became my mom. And there for a while, I just kind of forgave it, oh, well, it's not that bad because I love my mom and everything like that. But when I got in and out of jail and prison and abusive relationships, everything, I just fell into everything that she was. That's just what I knew too. Mm-hmm. I thought that was acceptable. Mm-hmm. It was okay to be treated that way and treat others that way. So,
did you have any extended family that you were in contact with through all those years?
I have a stepdad. So, because I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and they were taken away when I was 6 years old.
All the younger ones were taken away into foster care?
Yeah, my youngest brother wasn't born yet, but they were taken away, and they allowed her to keep me. And so, and I just remember that was the most heartbreaking day when they got ripped away, and I was just so mad at my mom, and I didn't understand anything, but I got to stay with her, and I don't really understand why.
And you never went into foster care?
Oh, we were in and out of foster care together for quite some time. And there was a lot of, I could tell some horror stories on that end, but there was one family that was really, really great, and they took very good care of us, but then we ended up just getting separated, and they got taken.
So all 6 siblings, you included, were moved in and out of foster care?
The 5 of us, yeah.
Back with your mother a few times, and then eventually all 5 got placements, and you stayed with your mom. Yep. Wow.
Absolutely. And that's when it just fell off, and we were just everywhere, My youngest brother was born, I think in 87 or something like that. And then my stepdad left when they split up. He took Ricky, And I saw Rick very few times growing up, but he was amazing. I mean, just what an incredible man. And still he's in my life today. And I just think he's just a great man, you know, and all of his kids are well educated and very well taken care of and everything. And I'm really happy to have him in my life today. So I just had the opportunity last year to meet my two oldest children that are 23 and 24. And it was a wonderful experience for me. And I know that I've caused them a lot of pain throughout the years. I wasn't there to read them bedtime stories or help a skinned knee, watch their soccer games or Girl Scouts or any of those things. And their dad was left with a great responsibility. So I'm rebuilding this relationship with them. And I love that they're not holding the past against me. I see that they're accepting and appreciating the woman that I am today. And I feel honored. I feel honored for that.
That's great. And so you had several children that you had to hand over to foster care.
They were never taken foster care. My two oldest, their dad raised them, and my two youngest, my 17-year-old son who is with me today. I've had him since he was 13. He was raised by my dad and my stepmom, and then my youngest daughter went with her dad to up north.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen her since she was 4 months old, but I do look forward to meeting her.
Yeah.
And hearing their honesty about how they're feeling about me, what they've gone through. I am in a position to where I can accept the accountability, and I'm willing to take on their emotions. I'm willing to help them through that, and they deserve to let me know how I've affected their lives.
How did you decide that you wanted to change your life and shift it in a completely different direction?
I just was doing the same old thing over and over again. One abusive relationship after another. Violence was just part of my life. It just became acceptable. And drugs, the chaos, living on the streets. I mean, to the point where I didn't care if I got an STD. I didn't care if I got pregnant. I didn't care whether I got beat up or anything like that. I was using my body as an ATM machine.
Really?
But it didn't matter. And I'm in these dirty motel rooms or on the streets and everything. And, through foster care and growing up, I never really got to learn etiquette, social graces, how to live in society or anything like that. I was emotionally immature, but I was always in fight or flight. So, and this, and being homeless and doing the drugs and all that, I knew that stuff. I got pretty good at that. But when I got to the academy, it was like, oh, I don't need to protect anybody. I don't need to protect myself. I'm safe. And I just became an emotional infant. And I was like, who am I? Who do I want to be? And I had the opportunity there in the safety to make mistakes and learn from them and feel the embarrassment and live through the discomfort of it and not run. Mm-hmm. This is the longest I've ever been around the same people in the same place or anything, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, you talk about being in fight or flight mode, and I've learned a little bit about how the brain works, but when you encounter kids that have been in the foster care system, you notice that you say something or you trigger them, and they're just like, okay, game on. What do I got to do now?
That's it.
And that impairs their executive functioning, where they're able to concentrate on a task and do what you're asking them to do. And that's extremely challenging to move from, they call it upstairs brain, from downstairs brain. And have you noticed in your own cognitive functioning, you've gotten better at concentrating, doing tasks, working, things like that?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I went through the academy, and they rotate jobs frequently, and I was a supply driver. I worked down in kind donations, corp development for quite some time. And then I oversaw it. I worked in legal and intake. I was co-manager of a thrift boutique.
Oh, wow.
There on State Street. And then I was asked to join the Other Side Village as a coach. And I felt honored. They're like, we need your lived experience, the homelessness that you've experienced and how I've come out of it and everything that the Other Side Academy taught me and everything. And so I was really honored to be able to go over there and take part in saving a different population that's just as valuable, just as important, and just as capable.
What do you think is that key component to tapping into that potential and getting people to want to change?
Honesty. You definitely want to see them as a person. They're a human. They deserve to get recognized and listened to. But there comes a time where you're like, you have to let them know, I'm sorry that the things happened to you in the past. I'm sorry that you had to go through these things and endure this. But you are capable of making your decisions now. What do you want to do moving forward? Who do you want to be? What do you want out of your life? Here are some opportunities and some things that I can encourage you to do, and some choices that are here for you to make to become somebody different.
Can you even wrap your head around what we can possibly do to stop this or curb this and just get people out of this drug culture?
Accountability. Accountability. And organizations like the Other Side Village, like the Other Side Academy, where it's a little longer and there's accountability, and there's people with lived experience that have gone through it, and they do have the BS detector, and they can say, no, man, we're not going to do that anymore. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're capable of. Let's get you in a routine. Let's take a step by step by setting goals, and then setting new goals and keeping the old ones. And you're going to get the routine going. You're going to learn how to become a good person and to take care of yourself and to respect others, and especially respect other people's opinions when you don't believe in them.
And why is what you guys are going to do, why is it going to succeed in your mind?
Giving them a place that's safe with the routine and their own, giving them a place of safety to where they're not always fight or flight in this room with 100 people, constantly, holding their backpacks and everything like that. Give them a place that they can call their own while they're in a residential facility within a community that's healing and purposeful, right? That's going to guide them in the right direction. It's not afraid to be honest with them, right? And peer driven. You have people that are on that same path with you that are able to hold you accountable, you know what I mean? And just saying, hey man, pick up that trash, just go throw it in the trash, man. We want to keep our place nice. Hey, I noticed that you didn't shower today. You know what I mean? Let's get a little bit better at that. I know I struggled with that at first too, but man, I got some help, and I really like how I feel now.
I like how you said capable of both loving other people and knowing how to love other people.
Absolutely.
Is that a big thing? Like, people just don't even know how to accept and receive love at first when they're off the streets?
Absolutely. Well, there's no trust, right? There's shame. There's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of belief of all the negative things that you've heard about yourself and society and all that stuff. You've got people going by, get a job, all this stuff, and clean yourself up and do all this. They're hearing that, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks to hear those things, but it's also so that you learn to believe that you're not capable of doing anything better. You learn to believe that, right? But it's awesome, handing out pamphlets and people letting you know, hey, there's options, there's opportunities for you. What do you want out of life?
And I look at it too. How is it we can't look at work as therapy? Like, if your whole life you've been told you suck, you're no good, you can't do that, and then you're slowly working and you're learning, wow, I can do that. Wow, I can pour a pad of concrete and help these guys and be a meaningful asset to this company. I mean, of course that's going to be therapeutic, right?
Absolutely. You just spoke my life story right there. I was like predetermined to be a loser and a failure because of how I lived. They're like, oh, she's a lost cause. She'll never go anywhere in life. But the academy showed me something different in myself. I learned new things all the time, and I was nervous and I made mistakes and everything, but it was a process of elimination. And I learned how to speak on the phone for in-kind donations and tell our story and talk about materials and specifics. I learned how to do legal intake and talk to judges and attorneys and prosecutors. I learned how to communicate better, and I'm still working on it, but to be more effective and to show confidence even when I don't feel it, like acting as if, everything. I believe in it wholeheartedly, and it's not for everybody. It isn't for everybody. But it's for a lot of people if they're just willing to give it a shot.
That's great. Well, I think that's about it, unless you have anything else you would like to share.
Go Tosa, go Village.
Really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much.
All right. And if you would like to get more involved in the Other Side Village and the Other Side Academy, there's a bunch of different ways to get involved. They have a couple of thrift store boutiques. One of them is on 4290 South State. The other one is at 33rd South and 1300 East. They just opened a really incredible new donut shop. That is located at 760 South Redwood. If you like gourmet donuts and you want to try something you've never had before as a donut. It's really incredible what they've done there. And if you want to look into the services that the Other Side Academy provides, you can visit theothersideacademy.com, or you can actually just go show up at their bench. You can sit on a bench any time of day, and they have like an intake, and they will tell you where to go, what to do. They'll interview you and help you get on the right track. That is located at 661 East, 100 South. And also the Village has its own website that's different than the Academy, and that is theothersidevillage.com. All right, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.